Hello, I'm Arthur Black. Welcome to Weird Homes, a show that looks at the most unusual and bizarre homes in North America. What you're looking at here is part home, part railway. You should see this guy's laundry room, and you will later. We're also going to visit a couple who have a thing for household items. They collect multiples of everything. Outboard motors, hammers, ladders, aprons, you name it. Then there's Tim Anderson. Tim lives in Roundup, Montana, and that's what Tim does. He rounds up just about anything slated for demolition, and then he brings it on home. In these homes, personality rules. Let's take a look. The junkyards of Montana are Tim Anderson's hunting grounds. For over 20 years, he's been hauling home things other folks threw out. And every piece ends up as part of his incredible home. Speaking of collecting, how many couples stockpile ladders, shovels, and wheelbarrows? Meet Dick and Johanna. And Ron Senko? When it comes to home decor, he's got a one-track mind. One track and thousands of tiny rail cars. All these homes have personality, just like the folks who live in them. There's only one town named Roundup in North America, and that's Roundup, Montana. It's the kind of place that attracts characters, which is why Tim Anderson fits right in. And Tim's place? That's not hard to find. As a matter of fact, it's hard to miss. Would you believe that this was an ordinary run-of-the-mill bungalow before Tim moved in back in 1981? And it might have stayed that way, except one day, Tim had a vision.
I never dreamt that I was going to have something like this. So back at the corner of the house back there, one day I was standing there and I said, I'm going to change this place. Everything just started opening up.
He changed it all right. Over the past 20 years, Tim's transformed an unremarkable lot into a fantasy garden of surprises. As a kid, Tim used to hang out in junkyards and dumps. Nowadays, he continues that approach. He's a scavenger and proud of it. Little Mansion is adorned with found art that other people just threw away. Tim thinks it's a shame to let perfectly good stuff go to waste.
They're cutting this old machinery up, and they're crazy. They're nuts. It's just that I mean it, that it looks so pretty in a rock garden. They don't want anybody to save it for, for people to look at. They want to destroy stuff as quick as they can. That's what they're doing to the world, is trying to destroy it as fast as they can, inch by inch. And I look at it and I can't believe what people do with certain things to the world.
Tim is a real son of the soil, a natural. He doesn't read or write, but he can put up a building as square and true as Frank Lloyd Wright. He says he learned his building skills watching his dad, who was a carpenter. But Tim's artistic eye, no one knows where that came from.
Here's an old tater plow. People like to put that stuff in their yard for decoration, Then I got another old plow up there. These plows could talk. They tell some good stories, couldn't they, about those potatoes? I just had to say that. Here's one of my first pieces I built for the parade. I won $115 in the parades in Roundup over a period of time, and I'm not bragging, it's just, and then I figured I'd let somebody else win.
Tim figures everybody wins when he takes somebody else's cast-off junk and turns it into yard art. He's also figured out ways to keep his enthusiasms from spilling over onto his neighbor's property.
I got the rock fence going around to the corner of the shed, and then the car wheel in there. And it's been in houses in the past, way back. I seen it when I was a kid. Then that there piece of artwork up on top of the roof, I call that the rooster's tail. This was an old sign, okay? It was the name on it at one time, the Rainbow Bar in Roundup. and they turned it into a church. I call it the bar church. Here's the sheep herders monument here. Sheep herders monument. There's 13 of them on the place. And here's a rock bed here.
Rock bed. Bedrock. I get it. Fred Flintstone would be proud. It took a lot of heavy lifting to decorate Tim's yard. He used to haul stuff home with this old tractor. That was before the Roundup constabulary discovered Tim doesn't have a driver's license. Ever since, Tim's used his bicycle to transport his raw materials. And for Tim, raw material is just about anything.
Junk you can work into art if you just can't, if you can figure it out, you know. Here's a giant tricycle. Imagine if that could be in a city with 2 Shetland ponies on it, you know, with a child on there, you know, wouldn't that be nice? Going in a big parade in the city. No, I'll just show you the point.
Some residents of Roundup aren't quite sure what to make of Tim's little mansion, but neighbor Margaret Kexcometti is a fan. She's got a big soft spot in her heart for Tim, which is not to say she doesn't get exasperated with him from time to time.
Oh, Margaret, here's my bicycle. I put it together.
How many have you got now?
I don't know.
Get that wood out of here, too.
Oh?
Well, look, why do you have it?
It's firewood.
Well, firewood, that's not to look at for a tourist.
Oh, they don't have to look at it.
Well, I gotta get out of here.
Oh. Well, get going then. I'll see you later.
Well, we fight a great deal. And we have artistic what would you call them, differences of opinion, but we always wind up more or less on a friendly basis.
If Tim had his way, he'd build a whole town full of homes like Little Mansion. Margaret says he's got the talent to do it.
He's got an eye that is so accurate for keeping things in line and things that go with things.
Tim loves the attention, but he's not in it for the money. Everything you see here is not for sale.
I didn't build my artwork to sell. If somebody tried to force me to sell, I just about tear it down. You know what I mean? I built it to make somebody stop, somebody to talk to.
And it works. A lot of people do stop and talk. And Tim eats it up.
There's a lot of people been in this yard and they really like what I built. You know, a lot of people in town are getting to wave at me that I don't even know. It's because of this piece of work here.
Margaret isn't Tim's only fan, just his biggest one. And when another Roundup sundown rolls around, you can find them on Margaret's porch, making beautiful music together. What's this? 2 paper boys? And they're delivering the paper right to the door, not just tossing it over the hedge? Ah, this must be Ron Sanko's place.
Hey guys, how you doing this afternoon? My newspaper, all right, good guys. You got a few minutes? You want to come in and see a couple trains?
Ron's the big kid in the engineer's hat. His home reflects his passion, miniature trains. A lot of miniature trains.
What a monster, huh? And it runs all through here, and it runs up above your head. This is the first table right here. And, of course, I had to pretty well move out of my parents' house in order to get it this big.
How big? Very. 900 engines. 4,000 rail cars. When you've got that much rolling stock, you've got to be on your toes. A major train wreck could be just around the furnace.
I'll run them under the table, and we'll take them out onto the main setup track. You can run up to 15 trains at a time on the layout if you have 15 people. I myself can run maybe 3 or 4 at a time, keeping a close eyeball on everything. You can see this panel here. you're getting into more big boy stuff here.
Ron's been a train buff since he was knee-high to a railroader, actually. His grandfather worked for the railway when Ron was growing up in Edmonton, Alberta. And Granddad used to scoop Ron up and take him for train rides. The upside? It was never tough to figure out what to get little Ronnie for Christmas.
Here's one of my first trains up here when I was about 3 years old. Been a long time. Now, give her a little hand around the corner here. There we go. Come on, wake up there, boy. Away we go. Yeehaw! Wow.
Ron's a disc jockey, and what he earns gets funneled back into his railway. But Ron, why didn't you just go down to the yards and apply for a job as a brakeman?
I always wanted to work for the railway, but I couldn't because at the time you had to have perfect vision. You weren't allowed to wear contacts or glasses. So I thought, well, the heck with them. If I can't work for them, I'm going to have my own railway. Now I can do everything.
Well, just about everything. Putting through a load of laundry can be a tad claustrophobic, what with freight trains highballing past you on every side. And what does a model railway buff do when he's outgrown his own basement? He takes it to a higher level.
When we actually wanted to go into other parts of the house here, we call these mouse holes. There's your signal system that protects your trains from dropping over the big cliff. Well, it's so far out of control now that we've got to decide we're running out of room. So now we're either going to go up in the roof and build another layer, or we're going to dig down and build a bomb shelter and fill that up too. So it's definitely insanity. Good afternoon. Yeah.
Not surprisingly, Ron's a popular guy. He's forever fielding calls from community groups and schools eager to see his trains in action. Between giving tours and keeping tabs on his expanding railways, there's not a lot of time for other things. But don't take my word for it. Ask his girlfriend, Allison Emmond.
He has train friends, the train gang, and he has a club. And so they do a lot of things together, and he goes out. It can be challenging in the sense of, you're competing with, his trains.
There we go. All set up. Ready to roll.
Never mind the time Ron's poured into this mini world. What about the dough? Ron, don't you ever get the yen to cash in your rolling stock and turn this place back into a normal house?
If I sold all this stuff, I'd go live in Mexico. Yeah, but then, no fun. This is just too much fun. Live in my own little world and do what I want, eh?
Besides, it's not as if Ron's fixated exclusively on trains. There's also his record collection.
Well, other than the trains, the next interest is music. And all these old filing cabinets you see all around the basement, these are full of vintage vinyl. I've been collecting since like 1956. So there's, I guess there's probably close to 70,000 records in the collection.
70,000 records. That dance you're doing, Ron, don't tell me. Let me guess. The locomotion? Unlike Ron's trains, his vinyl collection isn't confined to the house. For the past 30 years, Ron's been running a mobile music business. That's a fancy way of saying that Ron plays records at weddings.
Hey, John and Bob, thanks for coming over. Come on in, you guys.
Great.
Yeah, the old dungeon here, boy.
Front hall.
Make sure the old spiders don't get their hands on you.
Amazing. How do you do business in here?
Well, sometimes it takes days. We've been doing this about 30 years now.
When Bob Jameson and Joanne Warwick were looking for music for their upcoming wedding, they lucked out. They picked the king of vinyl.
It certainly fits the kind of business he's in. This is amazing.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Not knowing that this was the kinds of things they had here, we would have chosen him, I guess, just based on this amazing place.
Music is his job. Trains are his joy. One of the reasons Ron bought this house is it's just a hop, skip, and a train whistle away from some real full-size railway tracks. Full-size locomotive or bargain basement end gauge, Ron loves his trains, which would make it really tough if you had to move. Right, Ron?
Move? Move from here? That's the nasty four-letter word, move. Nobody says that around here. Holy cow. Even Beacon's Moving and Storage, I phoned them up and they sent a couple of guys over once and they refused to do it, so I gotta stay.
Of course he's got to stay. Somebody has to make sure the 415 from the laundry room makes it to the clothes closet on time. That's beautiful blue Puget Sound on the west coast of Washington State in the background. And this is Richard and Johanna Nietzsche Marquise in the blue pickup in the foreground. Richard and Johanna are artists. They are also garage sale junkies. But they're not on the trail of antiques or folk art. They're after the stuff that's usually left over after the garage sale's finished. The stuff nobody else wants.
I collect things that are like almost throwaway, things without value right now. But then after I collect them for a while, they usually start becoming more valuable. And then once they become valuable, I lose the interest.
You need change? We got change.
No, there we go.
All right. Good.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Much for being here.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Let's see, a bird cage, a shovel, a ladder. Yeah, those are all useful things, providing you don't have one of each already. But that's the thing about Richard and Johanna. They already have ladders and shovels. Lots of them. How about wheelbarrows, Johanna? Are you covered for wheelbarrows?
Listen, you never have enough wheelbarrows. You always need wheelbarrows, for God's sake. This is just barely part of the fleet. The rest of the fleet's hidden, but these are old wheelbarrows from garage sales. You can always tell a good gardener by their wheelbarrows.
Dick's take on gardening is a little different than Johanna's. Think 7-10 split.
I used to go to all the Salvation Armies and Goodwills, and there were all these bowling balls, and they were just as good as new. You know, new they're like hundreds of bucks or something. And then they ended up at for like 25 cents a piece. I decided to build a pyramid, and so I started collecting them. It took me probably about 5 years to get enough for this size. My old English setter is buried underneath it, sort of the classic use of pyramids.
Dick's English setter rests in peace, but thanks to mobile phones, Johanna's always on call, even in the privacy of her garden.
Oh. So now I'm going to have to go help Dick pull some cane. Let's go do that.
Pulling cane is part of the glass blowing process. We forgot to mention that Dick is an internationally renowned glass artist who exhibits all over the world. Johanna is a painter and assemblage artist. They met at a gallery in 1987 and were married 3 months later. That's when the collecting began in earnest.
Yeah, these are all old bamboo fly rods I've collected. I stopped collecting them too now because they're really valuable.
And then our snowshoe collection, which is great fun, but we never get to use them. There's very, very, very little snowfall here. That's Dick's idea of lining things up.
Yeah.
Everything has to be lined up.
It looks less like clutter when it's lined up. Oh, these are good. These are they're called Rempel rubber toys. They're made in the 50s by this one company in Ohio called Rempel. You got the classic bum. And the one you've probably maybe seen before is the froggies, these froggy guys. There's a flat one. But this was like from a TV character in the 50s, I remember.
Dick figures you really only need 3 of anything to call it a collection, but sometimes he adds a few extras to be safe. All of his collections are painstakingly put in order and never to be used. Not to be rude, Dick, but why the heck do you do this?
There's probably real psychological reasons. When I was a kid, our family moved all the time, and my brother and I always collected things, and as we moved, all the collections would be tossed out because we were getting in a small car and moving. So now, now that I'm an adult, I can keep all this stuff if I want.
And there isn't too much on this earth that Dick doesn't want to keep, right down to his empty cereal boxes.
Those are all the Wheaties I've eaten in the last 5 years. I started collecting all the boxes, and it's one of those examples. I don't know why. It's just sort of, I'm going to do something with it sometime, maybe, or maybe not. When that space becomes too valuable for the Wheaties boxes, I'll get rid of them. Oh, this is what I used to call the Sleepy Mexican collection, but politically correct now, it's called the siesta. This stuff used to be really easy to find, and it's just more and more difficult. Now it's become collectible. It's becoming each little thing is sort of valuable. I find it sort of creepy that it becomes that valuable.
Don't go away. You've just seen the kitchen collections. Wait till you see the amazing bathroom. The home and grounds of Dick and Johanna Nietzsche Marquise. 10 crammed acres of non-stop collections.
These are old tiles we collected from all over Australia. We'd go and buy furniture and leave the furniture there, but bring the tiles home. And after years and years of carting these tiles around, we finally figured out what to do with them. People get lost in here. This is our downstairs bathroom, and in here is a collection of advertising cards, I think is what they're called, used in marketing around the 20s and 30s. A lot of students come for glass-blowing classes, and they'll spend hours in here and we won't know where they are, and they're stuck in the bathroom looking at the advertising cards.
There's only one thing Dick and Johanna don't have enough of: storage space. But maybe if they built a shelf here and a shed over there. Dick, I hate to bring it up, but suppose you decided to move.
The stuff stays here. We're not going to, you know, we're just going to close the doors and leave and let it just turn into, rot back into the...
Of chocolates. Oh well, nobody ever said collecting was easy. I'm Arthur Black. Hope you enjoyed Weird Homes. We'll see you next time.